Hello everybody, it is Monday the 16th of January. I want to go one more time, actually under the heading of, whether the heavens are soul traps and how to get off this karmic wheel. And there are a few thoughts, that should lead us to make a decision about this. Whether they are soul traps or not, or whether we want to leave the karmic wheel. And to start with, I was again listening to somebody who is getting himself into this higher state of awareness, and as I think you do break through the door into your energy body and seeing the world through the eyes of your energy body rather than your physical body. So he is going the way of fasting, and he cited Jesus. He did a 40-day fast, and he cited Jesus saying, well, he did a 40-day fast. And to me, that is breaking down a door that would not have naturally happened. That opening would not have naturally happened at that moment, but you're forcing it. And I think for us, doors do not naturally open because we are not ready to go through them. But even in citing Jesus, the way of the Bible into a promised land, so to speak, has always been a way of conflict. It was in the Old Testament, to reach the promised land through fighting everything that was in your way. And basically Jesus did the same thing on a spiritual level. And that is to say, if you weaken that which holds, which is your physical body, if you weaken that to a point where it can no longer fight you, where it can no longer keep that door closed, because you have brought it to its knees, then again you entered into that spiritual place, the way of conflict. And I don't think the outcome is terribly good, because in Jesus, most certainly, he did not have a full understanding of what it was he was doing. He had a desire. But again, that desire was given to him through religion. The desire for this kingdom. It was given to him by a religion. That was what was drummed into him through his entire upbringing. So he did not have full awareness of all possibilities, or at least more possibilities than that. He did not have that awareness. That is what he knew. And then he broke down the door to get there. Which again, I don't think is a terribly good way. But there we come to making a decision. And I've just again watched a very short part of a video where they were discussing that. And one of the people said, well, not to go toward the light. And he said, if you are there, you should make a conscious decision. I think when you're there, that is after death, you've made the conscious decision. The decision is made here, where you're going. And you should make a conscious decision here, what it is you're doing. Because by the time you're dying, you have become, and you're going where you're going, according to what you are. So free will is here, if you understand what it is you're doing. And that was really for myself. It is really, you get what you're asking for. And you have asked for it here, again. Unconsciously, most people. They're following a path unconsciously that will lead them to a certain place. And it is what you're asking for. If people are asking, I want to be like Jesus, I want to go to that kingdom. Yes, you will become like that. You will become that will go to that kingdom. especially if you consciously, continuously look at the text, work on this, you are creating yourself. By the time you die and the veil rips, the decision is made. You made it here, you became. So for myself, and again, I was on a completely different path, because, and I have told this story before, but I tell it again now. When I started looking at these things, and it was a few days where I had really contemplated the idea of the marriage of the bride. Yeah? What does that mean? What is happening? And as I said, I came down the stairs of my house and I had this thought of mating dance suddenly came into my head. And it was like I saw a bird of plumage, like at the bottom of the stairs, showing off its feathers. And I said, right, I wasn't happy with that at all. So when I went into the kitchen and I said, I really think I said it out loud. I said, no. I said, if there is a mating to be had, some spiritual union or something, I need to know what it is I'm doing. I need to understand. And I will not do this with my eyes closed. I will not go blindly into. And that's what I said. And that was, I think, just over 3 years ago now. And that was what kicked the whole thing off. And I got what I was asking for in abundance. 3 years of going 24/7, where that thing just wouldn't let go of me. But it is understanding. So that and you need that. It is having the information to make a conscious decision. Again, something that's playing out in this world at the moment again. People do not have the fullness of the information, and they're doing something rather stupid because they don't have the full of the information, and because the information was deliberately made that they only get one set of information and all the rest was suppressed. And that is what's happening on a spiritual level. This is a reflection, and mostly of the New Testament, of what's happening there. Where you are driven into just one, in the church, driven into just one set of information, into just one desire that you should have. And that will create you. And then according to that, after that, there is a teaching that is the equivalence of form. That means that you are closest to that which is like you. You will create the most ties, the most connections with something that is like you, or you form connections in the place where something is like you. And that is what happens, to my mind, after death. You have become like that heaven. But you did it here, and your choice was here. And that's what most people are not conscious of. So, and again, how it reflects in this world. So if I said my first desire, my chief desire was to understand, which was given, is still being given. I'm still looking at the text and I've seen other things. For a Christian, the chief desire is to go to that kingdom, and the way to that kingdom is obedience. Obedience to God. So that is their chief desire. Yeah? Where they beat themselves up endlessly to become this obedient, that which is obedient to God. Yeah? If there's anything else in your head, beat it down. It's sinful. Don't go there. And again, it's something that is reflected in this world. Never mind after you die. You're already living in it here. We are the sheep to the good shepherd. And then they wonder why the world is full of sheep. Wonder what has created that. So again, they are becoming in this life. And they're not, well, the thing is, it is fear. And here really, and there's a question I had, because again, and I haven't actually got the answer to that. But again, in the interview that I've just watched, they were saying, well, you should go past the heavens. You know, you should not go into one of those places. And I say one of those places because there's more than one. What would happen if you go past it? And you know, I know guys was asked the question, did anybody ever come back to tell what happens if you go past it? And obviously not. You know, if you're off the karmic wheel, you're not coming back to say. So there's a problem. There's something we absolutely cannot know, because whoever goes past is not coming back, definitely not coming back to tell. So, but it was yesterday and the day before, I'm still thinking about this thing that the drop is the ocean. And it obviously is not. The drop is not the ocean, it is a very small part that is in a self-contained integral body. It's got its own body, which is pretty much us. And there's so much you can see in this thing with the drop. For instance, if you freeze the drop, and just wondering, you know, if you were freeze yourself in a moment of time, and what if you freeze the drop, what happens is it forms the crystal, it shows the crystal. And there's no crystal the same. So every individual drop has got an individual crystal. And then, I don't know, if you were to freeze yourself in a moment of time, would you see your own, which is, I would say, is your soul, that is your being, that is who I am, that crystal. You also can see in the whole water drop thing that if you bombard water with a lot of negative energy, fear, you create fear, that the crystal dissolves. It loses its integrity, and it turns into these ugly blobs, which then are the equivalent of some heaven that you will be drawn to. It's full of ugly blobs, to my mind. And you go in there because you just like them. And you've been drawn to it because you like them. But that is not actually the question. The question is, when the drop enters the ocean, it obviously loses its integral form. Yeah, the outer form has been obliterated. But what happens to the crystal? That's my question. What happens to the crystal in that ocean, which is your consciousness? Does the crystal survive, or does it also dissolve into the rest, in which case that would be the end of consciousness altogether? And in a way, to me, that would be the death of the soul, if that happens. And I was reminded of what actually Pope, God, I keep forgetting his name, Francis. How am I forgetting that? Anyway, what he said, and he actually did create a big stir at the time. And that was that he said there was no hell, but that those souls that don't go to heaven will simply disappear. What, to my mind, he's contemplating the same question. What would happen to the soul if it does not go to a place where, well, you could say it can keep its integrity there. You know, it is a place where you can keep your integrity. Can you keep that integrity inside of the ocean? That's the question. Or could you maybe eventually the crystal can stay the crystal, but for that it needs to be extremely strong. And is your crystal right now strong enough to actually withstand the ocean, to stay the ocean in that form? Yeah, but to me, it's always, I am all. It's a contradiction. All has no definition, and I am is most definitely a definition. So a definition cannot exist in all, as far as I can see. So, as I say, I don't know, and nobody has gone past to come back, obviously. So, but it's just something you should think about. But then, obviously, in order to keep the integrity of yourself, you would need to go to, after death, you would need to go out of the ocean and into a place of safety where you can keep the integrity, from which you can return. And then again, heavens, the saviors, let's say, of the soul, this place of safety where you can keep your integrity, but it comes at a price. Especially that heaven that Jesus is preaching definitely has got a price. As above, so below. Salvation does not come for free. And the price is that you must become something that will serve them. That is the price of that heaven. Your crystal, your I amness, needs to become something that will, you need to change your crystal to become something that will fit in there. And what they're really looking for is sheep. Sheep that will serve in that heaven. As above, so below. Become sheep, do as you're told, and we will keep you. Probably not very well. In this world, you're not being kept very well, but again, we'll keep the soul alive. That is really life at any price. And then you ask yourself, at what point is there a price that's not worth paying? So that's where I am at the moment. And I really think that, one last point, and there's again, as above, so below, according to that teaching. And that's the last point they were talking about in that interview, and that's really getting me at the moment. And that is the right to end your own life. And again, there's something coming up very badly here at the moment with assisted suicide. It's coming to the fore. And again, there is something that is in that teaching in the New Testament. It is actually, again, a reflection of that. Because if you think what Jesus did, and you leave the shouts of angels and the trumpets and the glory, hallelujah, singing out of it, do away with the soundtrack and just look at what he's doing. And what he's actually doing is, he is making a conscious decision that his life shall be ended. When he goes to Jerusalem, he makes a conscious decision that his life should be ended. He is in agreement with it, and he's going somewhere where somebody else will end his life. And he's handing himself over, knowing that they will end his life, and that is assisted suicide. If you take the glory, hallelujah singing away from it, that is assisted suicide. That is making a conscious decision that your life is going to be ended and handing yourself over to somebody who will do it for you. And again, there's the reflection of that is coming into this world. And in this world, people are outraged by the idea. And outraged by the idea that people are being told they should either go into assisted suicide because they are a burden to society, because there's too much pain, you're getting out of pain, or quite saying you're doing it for the good of the world. You are a burden of on this world. You have, there are too many people self-sacrifice for the goodness of the world. And again, unconsciously that the thinkings, the teachings of that book are actually taking a form. But as I said, with the soundtrack going on in the book, you know, the showers of angels just singing glory, hallelujah, people are not actually seeing the picture. Anyway, this is where we really must think about this. We must find another way. We must, first of all, understand what it is we're doing, and we are creating ourselves. We're making ourselves into something. And as I said, after we die, we might go to heaven. That is according to what we've become. And I said, the decision was made here, and it's not being made consciously. And yeah, can we go past the heavens? I really think this is where the soul, where the end soul will no longer exist, where consciousness comes to an end altogether. Yeah, it is not I am going to be in all. I am cannot be in all as far as I can see. Anyway, I think I leave it at that for today. And yeah, I really wish we could find something where we look through these things with our eyes open, because even if people that are spiritual now, you can see them being influenced by that book on an unconscious level. It's still in there. We really need to detach and look at it from a distance. Anyway, I leave it at that for today, and I talk to you again soon. Bye.